guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cheryl, and today I'm here to bring you a review for Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I will insert a little picture, I don't know on which side. So anyway, this book is a whirlwind of a book. I didn't know how I was going to feel about it going into it because I'd heard very mixed things for a variety of reasons. I feel like, and the ratings on Goodreads kind of attest to this, this is a book that people either loved it or they hated it. There were very few in between, like I was, because this was a pretty polarizing book. Alright, so this book takes place in a world where there is like Nevernight. That's where the name comes from, obviously. So basically, I believe it can go years at a time with there not being an actual night, and then every once in a while, after a certain amount of time, night hits, and that's usually when like catastrophic things happen because people can get away with it. So basically, this story follows Mia, who is a young girl who grew up like in the aristocracy, and her father was hanged for treason, and her mother was taken from her, and she managed to escape being taken as well. And so she gets raised by this man and like primed to become an assassin to avenge her family. And so she joins the super elite assassin school, and the whole book really is her at the school kind of working her way up to become an assassin. So this book was interesting. The book has a 16-year-old main character, but it is not YA, and I think that throws a lot of people off. It is an adult fantasy book. There is a lot of violence in it, but there's also some pretty graphic sex scenes, so if you are uncomfortable with that, I would keep that in mind before going into it. But overall, the writing is really what kind of got to me and really what kept me from giving this book a super high rating, because the writing felt like it was really too dense. Like it was frustratingly dense. I've talked about books before like Mistborn, which have dense writing, but they keep me gripped and I'm invested. That wasn't the case with this book. I just felt like the writing was just too dense for me to really enjoy it. Also, I feel like the writing tried really, really hard to be like prolific and profound, but it just kind of came off as pretentious instead. There was an overabundance of similes and metaphors, half of which just ended up not making sense at all. So it kind of bogged the storytelling itself down. Also, and this maybe was just me, there were footnotes at the bottom of the book, because the book is told, like, you know that Mia eventually becomes like the greatest assassin ever. It tells you that in the prologue, and this is basically almost like a historical encounter of her time there, so it is written kind of like a history book. And if you've ever read like history books, you'll know that a lot of times they're annotated with footnotes at the bottom, so that's kind of the style of this. It took me forever reading, like it took me like a solid like 20 or 30 pages into this book before I finally realized that that is what the style of narration was, which is what threw me off at the beginning. Anyway, I digress. There are footnotes, there are annotations. I didn't like them. I don't like annotations and footnotes in books. Even if I'm reading like a history book, I don't like it. Because I don't like it when I'm in the middle of a huge paragraph, in the middle of a sentence, and I read a footnote that is just, which takes me out of what I was just reading. So I have to start reading this footnote that ends up being like, some of the footnotes were like 3 paragraphs long about like something really mundane, like the length of your hair relating to societal status. I made that one up, but more or less that's how it was. They were super mundane. Now I would read the ones that were like only like a sentence long or a few words because I didn't feel ripped from the story then, but the ones that were super long I skipped, so I don't know what kind of detail I missed, because those were used for the world building as opposed to there being world building really in the story itself, if that makes sense. You would find out about details, irrelevant details really, of the world down in the footnotes. I didn't particularly like that. Like I said, it takes me from the story and I get really distracted, and when the writing is already really dense and difficult to read to begin with, the last thing I want to do is like rip myself from that, read an irrelevant footnote, then go back in, have to restart the paragraph and continue down, and then do it, 5 paragraphs later again. Just didn't appreciate that aspect. So another aspect of it I didn't particularly enjoy was the fact that it just was boring. Like, there were interesting characters. I really liked Mia, and I really liked side characters, but the story itself was boring. Like, I don't really know any other way to describe it. I don't know if there was anything really Jay Kristoff could have done that would have been different to make it more excitable, but yeah, it felt like this book dragged most of the time, and I was really kind of disappointed with that because, like I said, I really like the characters. One thing I do like, however, is that Jay Kristoff is not afraid to kill his characters. That is something that so many YA authors, or just authors in general, because like I said, this book isn't YA, the authors in general, you have some major fight scene, oh my god, are the characters gonna survive? It's so stressful. But you're reading it and you're like, I know these, I'm not invested emotionally, I know these characters are gonna survive. You didn't feel that way with this book, because you weren't guaranteed that they were going to survive. In fact, he killed off one of my favorite characters, and I'm still salty about that. But anyway, I don't know if I'm going to continue the series. The second one is set to come out later this year. It's called God's Grave. I will insert a photo of it somewhere up here. People have just started getting arcs for it, so I'm interested to see how people like it. And then that might kind of sway my decision if people say it's much better than the first book. But the thing is, Jay Kristoff co-authored one of my favorite YA series, which is the Illuminae series. He co-authored that with Amy Kaufman, and so I know he can write really well. I know he can write well because I know Amy Kaufman alone didn't write those books. So that's what was really disappointing going into this one, is that I feel like this book tried so hard to be different that it missed the mark for me, and that's just disappointing because I know he can write well, and I like the stories he ends up telling. And this thing, I like the story here, I like the characters, just it wasn't executed well. Also, because I have to address it, there was a lot of controversy surrounding this book, especially when it first came out, because he called a specific made-up race in the book of people who were dark-skinned. They were referred to as brutes and savages and things like that, and I did see where people came from being upset about that. That didn't really detract from the book for me because it wasn't extremely prevalent. However, I do really want that stereotype to end. I don't care if they are a made-up race of people. It just perpetuates aggressive stereotypes and that just needs to stop. And this book was really no exception. I really hope he kind of fixes that in the next one. But we shall see. Well, I don't know if I'll see, because like I said, I don't think I'll continue this book. But anyway, I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I am disappointed that I did not rate it higher, but I just don't think it deserved a much higher rating. But like I said, not very many people were middle of the road like I was. A lot of people were like, this is 5 stars, an absolute favorite book, or this is 1 star, it's trash. So I just kind of was in the middle there, which I guess, yay me? I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, that's my spoiler-free review for Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. As always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!